The common challenges in restore testing. Sometimes there might be some resource or time constraints.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So with that, I mean, if I'm telling you you need to go test your backups at least once a week, and you're part of a small business or a team or an organization, most people I know don't have time just sitting around on their hands where they're going to say, I've got plenty of time to go do a restore this week and test it. What we need to figure out is how do we test that in a way that you don't have to actually spend an hour doing that restore. Maybe you do it the first time, or maybe you do it the first 3 or 4 times, but then get it to a point that it's scripted and automated so it doesn't take you an hour or two to do that restore, so it happens quickly. I think that the time constraints, it's one of those things that you need to invest to make sure you're good at it, but you don't need to do it every single week if you have it scripted and built it in a way that you know that those backups are being restored weekly and tested. There's this belief that backups are enough. And I don't know how many times I've tried to work with people who had a system failure who thought they had backups, but they'd never ever tried to restore them, and they never will restore them because they didn't really have backups. Another technical challenge on that is the lack of a dedicated test environment. I mean, if everybody for their SQL server they were working on had a copy of it that was their test environment that they could do restores to all day long, well, that's a lot easier than if you don't have that. But even on small environments where somebody only has a single SQL server, we've been able to do restores where we script it, and maybe once a week or every 2 weeks, it does an automated restore of one of those production databases, but changing the name and changing the files at the time it does the restore so that it can be used and tested and confirmed good. Also, the other thing is the complexity of restoring really large databases. Gosh, one of the things that drives me crazy is when somebody says, well, our system is too big. We don't have enough room to restore this database anywhere. Well, the simple fact of that is if you don't have room to restore the database as a test, you're not going to have room to restore a copy of that database when disaster strikes, and you're going to have a lot less options for what you can actually do. A lot of the times when you're doing a restore, you're not restoring it over the existing database. You're restoring a copy of it so that you can use it. So I think this is even more important if you're dealing with large databases to prove that you've got enough space to do that restore if you need it. And then the other thing is there's a lot of difficulty in troubleshooting the restores if they fail without really understanding exactly why they fail. I think a big part of this too can come down to human error. And human error, I think, really comes down to making mistakes. And if I'm going to make a mistake, I would rather make that mistake when there's no crisis, when I'm doing a test run, rather than when everything's on the line. So one of the things that comes up is practicing the manual restore process so that during that high pressure recovery scenario, you can be ready to do it. But the flip side of it is also knowing it enough to be able to script it so that you can test it regularly. So let's jump into how to test the restores weekly, kind of a step-by-step guide.
Thanks for watching. I'm Steve, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you like it, please click the thumbs up icon. And if you want to subscribe, click subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon to get notified when we have new videos. All right, have a great day.